A struggling nurse had no idea who was watching. A billionaire changed her life forever. The hospital was eerily quiet at this hour. The overhead fluorescent lights buzzed softly, casting a pale glow over the sterile white walls. The only sounds were the steady beeping of machines from patient rooms and the occasional murmur of a late-night nurse making her rounds. Anna Collins pulled her scrubs tighter around her body, suppressing a shiver as she stepped into the hallway. Another 14-hour shift, and her legs ached from exhaustion. But she had no choice. The bills were piling up, and her younger brother still needed treatment. As she passed the nurse's station, her friend Melissa glanced up from behind the counter. "Anna, are you sure you don't want to wait for me? I'll be off in half an hour. We can leave together." Anna forced a tired smile. "I appreciate it, but I just want to get home and collapse." Melissa frowned. "Be careful, it's late." "I'll be fine," Anna assured her, but the uneasy feeling in her chest told a different story. The parking garage was nearly deserted. Anna's footsteps echoed against the concrete as she walked toward her car. She dug through her bag for her keys, her breath coming out in small, tired sighs. Then she felt it, a presence. The hair on the back of her neck stood up. She wasn't alone. Anna's fingers tightened around her keys as she picked up her pace. She reached her car and fumbled to unlock the door, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger. Then a shadow moved. A man emerged from behind a parked SUV, his dark eyes locked onto her. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and something about him felt wrong. Anna's pulse spiked. "Hey there," the man said, his voice too casual, too smooth. "You always leave this late?" Anna's heart pounded. "Stay back," she warned, gripping her keys like a weapon. The man smirked. Now, no need to be like that." He took a slow step forward. "I just want to talk." Anna's breath came in shallow gasps. She knew better than to believe him. She scanned the lot, searching for an escape. Then another figure appeared. A man stepped into view from the other side of the garage. Tall, confident, dangerous in a completely different way. His sharp blue eyes locked onto the stranger, his body language screaming authority. "Leave her alone," he ordered. The attacker stiffened. "Mind your business." The newcomer didn't flinch. "This is my business." The tension thickened. Anna felt it before she saw it. The instant the attacker lunged. A flash of movement, a fist flying, a grunt of pain. The stranger swung first, but the new man, her protector, dodged it with lightning reflexes. He countered, landing a solid punch to the attacker's ribs. Anna stumbled back as the two men fought. The attacker was strong, but the man protecting her was stronger. A final blow sent the stranger crashing to the ground. He groaned, clutching his side, before scrambling up and running off into the darkness. Anna let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Her rescuer exhaled sharply, rolling his shoulder. Then she saw it. Blood. A crimson stain blooming through his shirt, just below his ribs. "Oh my God!" Anna rushed to his side. "You're hurt!" "It's nothing," he muttered. Anna shook her head, already in nurse mode. "You need stitches. I'm taking you inside." He started to protest, but Anna wasn't having it. "Either you come with me, or I call security and have them drag you in." A pause. Then he sighed, giving her a small, tired smirk. "Well, when you put it that way." Anna hooked her arm around his, guiding him toward the hospital doors. She had no idea that the man she was saving was a billionaire. Anna led the injured man through the emergency room doors, her heart still pounding from the attack in the parking garage. The sterile scent of antiseptic filled the air as fluorescent lights cast a cool glow over the white-tiled floor. The man beside her, her rescuer, barely flinched, despite the blood staining his side. "You're way too calm for someone who just got stabbed," Anna muttered as she guided him toward an empty exam room. "It's just a scratch," he replied, his voice deep and smooth. Anna shot him a look. "Yeah, well, just a scratch can get infected. Sit down." He sighed but obeyed, lowering himself onto the hospital bed with a slow, controlled movement. Anna quickly grabbed a pair of gloves and disinfectant. "Take off your shirt," she instructed. The man raised a brow, a smirk tugging at his lips. "A little forward, don't you think?" Anna rolled her eyes. "It's for medical reasons, not because I'm dying to see what's underneath." His smirk widened, but he didn't argue. With practiced ease, he peeled off his shirt, revealing a lean, muscular torso and a fresh, deep gash along his ribs. Anna sucked in a sharp breath. "You call this a scratch?" she snapped, grabbing gauze. "You need stitches." He merely shrugged. "I've had worse." Anna's frustration deepened. Who was this guy? He fought like a trained professional, barely reacted to pain, and now he was brushing off a wound that would have most men writhing in agony. "I need your information for hospital records," she said as she disinfected the wound. "Name?" "Daniel." "Last name?" A pause. "Carter." Anna frowned at the hesitation but continued. "Date of birth?" He smirked again. "Old enough to get stabbed and still walk in here on my own." Anna let out an exasperated sigh. "Are you always this difficult?" Daniel chuckled, but the sound was short-lived as she pressed the antiseptic-soaked gauze against his wound. He didn't even flinch. Anna moved to the computer and pulled up his hospital file, only to frown. "No insurance?" she asked, glancing back at him. Daniel shrugged. "Never needed it." She folded her arms. "So what, you just go around getting into fights for fun?" "Not exactly," he said, his gaze unreadable. "Let's just say I was in the right place at the right time." Anna narrowed her eyes. He was hiding something, but she didn't press. She had learned long ago that some people carried secrets they weren't ready to share. Instead, she finished stitching the wound, wrapping it tightly with fresh bandages. "There," she said, "you should be fine, but no heavy lifting, no strenuous activity, and definitely no playing hero again anytime soon." Daniel chuckled. "No promises." Anna shook her head but couldn't help the small smile tugging at her lip. He was infuriatingly charming. The next morning, Anna finished her shift and stepped outside into the crisp morning air. The sun had barely risen, casting long shadows over the hospital parking lot. She stretched her sore muscles, exhaling slowly. Then she saw him. Daniel was already outside, leaning casually against the curb as if he had all the time in the world. His dark jacket was slung over one shoulder, his posture relaxed. But it wasn't Daniel that made Anna freeze. It was the car, a sleek black luxury sedan pulled up to the curb, the kind of car that screamed wealth and power. The driver, a well-dressed man in a tailored suit, stepped out and opened the door for Daniel. Anna stared. This wasn't just some ordinary guy. This was someone important. Daniel turned slightly, as if sensing her eyes on him. For a moment their gazes locked. Then he gave her a knowing smirk, tipped an imaginary hat, and slid into the car. The engine roared to life, and before Anna could fully process what had just happened, the car was gone. She stood there, stunned. Who the hell was Daniel Carter? Anna had always been good at ignoring exhaustion. It came with the job, long shifts, little sleep, and the constant emotional weight of caring for patients. But fear was something she couldn't ignore. It started with a message. Her phone buzzed as she sat at the nurse's station, barely halfway through her night shift. She expected a reminder about an overdue bill or a text from her younger brother. Instead, it was an unknown number. "You looked beautiful tonight, Anna." Her stomach twisted. Her fingers tightened around the phone as she scanned the empty hallway. The lights flickered slightly, the quiet hum of the hospital suddenly too loud. She swallowed hard and put the phone down, forcing herself to focus on the chart in front of her. It was probably a mistake, a wrong number. But then, another message. "You shouldn't be alone at this hour." Anna's breath hitched. She was alone. Her heart pounded as she turned in her chair, scanning the dimly lit corridors. The hospital felt different tonight. Colder, darker. She locked her phone, forcing herself to breathe. Don't panic. But deep down, she knew. Someone was watching her. Daniel Carter had no business being back at this hospital. But here he was. This time, he wasn't a wounded stranger needing stitches. This time, he walked through the doors with a name that turned heads and a presence that made the hospital director personally escort him to a private suite. Officially, he was here for a routine checkup. Unofficially, he was here for her. From the moment he met Anna, he had sensed something, a quiet strength hiding behind exhaustion, a resilience that shouldn't have to exist. And now, something was wrong. He saw it in the way her shoulders tensed when she walked, in the way her tired eyes darted toward shadows. Daniel didn't believe in coincidences, so he started watching. Anna barely made it through her shift. She felt exposed, vulnerable. Every time she stepped into an empty hallway, she had the sickening feeling that someone was right behind her. By the time she reached the break room, she was running on fumes. She closed the door behind her, exhaling shakily, pressing a hand to her forehead. Then, a voice. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Anna spun around. Daniel. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching her carefully. He was out of place in the dull fluorescent light. Too sharp, too composed, too intense. "What are you doing here?" she asked, trying to steady her breath. Daniel tilted his head. "I could ask you the same thing." Anna frowned. "I work here." He pushed off the counter, stepping closer. "And how's that going?" She folded her arms. "Fine." His gaze didn't waver. "Anna," his voice was lower now, edged with something almost protective. "Do you know you're in danger?" Her stomach dropped. Anna opened her mouth to argue, to dismiss it as paranoia, but the words stuck. Daniel saw it, his expression hardened. "You have a stalker," he said plainly. "And I'm guessing it's not the first time you've noticed." Anna's fingers curled into fists. "How do you know that?" "Because I've been watching too." Her breath caught. Daniel took another step forward, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "Whoever it is, they're getting bolder. I saw the way you tensed up earlier, the way you checked your phone and refused to look up. Someone's messing with you." Anna swallowed. "It's just texts." "For now." She shivered. Daniel's voice softened. "I can help." Anna shook her head. "I don't need—" Then, the sound of footsteps, loud, too loud. Anna's breath hitched. She turned toward the door, her pulse hammering. A shadow stretched across the floor. Someone was standing right outside. Daniel moved instantly. Before she could process what was happening, he reached for her. His hand firm but careful as he pulled her against his chest. The door handle rattled. Anna's fingers gripped Daniel's shirt, her heart racing. Neither of them breathed. Then, silence. After what felt like an eternity, the shadow disappeared. Anna's entire body trembled. Daniel didn't let go. His voice, when he finally spoke, was low, dangerous. "You're not alone in this, Anna." She wasn't sure why, but for the first time in weeks, she believed him. The morning after the incident in the break room, Anna could still feel the warmth of Daniel's arms around her, the steady rise and fall of his chest as he held her close, shielding her from the unknown presence lurking outside. But now, standing in the middle of his private hospital suite, staring at the impossibly luxurious surroundings, she realized she knew nothing about the man who had risked himself to protect her. This wasn't just a VIP room, it was practically a penthouse inside the hospital. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a sweeping view of the city skyline. A plush leather couch sat against the far wall, and a tray of untouched gourmet breakfast rested on a sleek glass table. Anna swallowed hard. The Daniel Carter she had met 2 nights ago, the man she thought was just another patient, was clearly not ordinary. Daniel sat on the edge of his bed, his shirt unbuttoned at the top, bandages peeking from beneath the fabric. Despite his injury, he looked completely at ease, like a man who had seen and conquered far greater challenges. "You're staring," he murmured. Anna blinked, snapping out of her daze. "Yeah, well, forgive me for being a little shocked." Daniel smirked. "What gave it away? The suite? The personal security? Or the fact that the director nearly fainted when he saw me walk in?" Anna folded her arms. "All of the above?" Silence stretched between them. Then, Daniel exhaled and leaned forward slightly, his sharp blue eyes locking onto hers. "I should have told you sooner. My full name is Daniel Carter. I own Carter Medical Holdings, the company that owns this hospital, and about 100 more across the country." Anna's breath hitched. Carter Medical Holdings? She had heard that name before. Everyone had. It was one of the largest healthcare corporations in the country. known for buying out struggling hospitals and turning them into elite medical centers, which meant Daniel wasn't just rich, he was a billionaire. Anna took a step back. You? She shook her head. You're telling me that the man I stitched up in the ER is the owner of this entire place? Daniel gave her a small, amused nod. Anna's chest tightened. Why didn't you tell me? Daniel studied her for a moment before answering. Would you have treated me the same if I had? Anna clenched her jaw. No, she wouldn't have. She would have been too careful, too hesitant. She would have watched her every word, afraid of offending a man with the power to make or break her career with a single phone call. And that's exactly why she hated people like him, rich men who thought they could do whatever they wanted, play by their own rules, and never deal with real consequences. Daniel sighed, standing up despite his wound. I didn't want you to see me as some untouchable CEO. I just wanted you to see me as a man who, he hesitated, who cares about what happens to you. Anna's stomach twisted. She shook her head, trying to clear the emotions clouding her thoughts. Look, I appreciate everything you've done, but let's be honest. We're from two different worlds. Daniel frowned. That's what you're worried about, money? Anna exhaled sharply. It's not just about money, it's about reality. You live in penthouses and make million-dollar deals. I can barely afford my rent and work double shifts just to survive. Daniel's jaw tightened. And what if I told you, that doesn't matter? Anna laughed, but there was no humor in it. It always matters. Daniel let out a slow breath, studying the woman in front of him. She was fierce, stubborn, proud, and completely incapable of asking for help, even when she needed it most, which made what he was about to say even more difficult. You're in danger, Anna. Her expression froze. Daniel stepped closer. Whoever was following you in the garage, whoever sent those texts, they're not going to stop. Anna's hands curled into fists at her sides. I can handle it. Daniel's voice hardened. You shouldn't have to. Anna lifted her chin. So what? You're going to be my knight in shining armor now? Buy me protection? Move me into one of your fancy estates? If that's what it takes to keep you safe, then yes. Anna's chest tightened, because for a second, just a second, she wanted to say yes, wanted to believe that someone powerful and untouchable like Daniel Carter could make things better. But reality crashed in like a tidal wave. She had spent her whole life fighting to prove she could stand on her own 2 feet, and she wouldn't let some billionaire swoop in and turn her into another problem for him to fix. So she took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and said the words that made her heart ache. No. Daniel's eyes darkened. Anna, I don't need your money. Her voice wavered, but she held firm. And I don't need your help. A muscle ticked in Daniel's jaw. You're being reckless. Maybe, she admitted, but at least I'm being honest. Silence fell between them, thick and suffocating. Then, before Daniel could say anything else, Anna turned and walked away. She didn't look back, because if she did, she might not have had the strength to leave. Daniel Carter wasn't a man who gave up easily. Anna had walked away from him, but that didn't mean he was going to walk away from her. Not when he knew the truth now. 2 days after their argument, Daniel sat in his office, a thick file resting on his desk. He had asked his most trusted assistant to look into Anna's background, not to pry, but to understand. And now, as he flipped through the pages, his chest tightened. Anna Collins, 27 years old. No criminal record. No history of financial stability. A mountain of medical debt. Her parents had left behind thousands of dollars in unpaid bills before they disappeared from her life. On top of that, she was supporting her younger brother, Ethan, who had been in and out of the hospital for years. Daniel exhaled slowly, his fingers pressing against his temples. She had been fighting alone for so long. No wonder she didn't want his help. She had spent her entire life proving she didn't need anyone. But he wasn't just anyone, so he did what he did best. He found a way. It started with the hospital bills. A quiet transaction, no names attached. Just a sudden notice that Ethan's next round of treatment had been fully covered. Anna never questioned it. She just thanked the universe for a miracle she hadn't expected. Then small things began happening at work. Her schedule got lighter, as if someone had personally requested fewer overnight shifts for her. New equipment showed up in the ER, faster, better. Equipment she had been requesting for months but had always been denied. And though she never saw him, Daniel was always there, watching from the shadows. He told himself it wasn't because he cared, but he did. Anna started noticing the change in him. She still tried to keep her distance, but every time she turned a corner, there he was. Never pushing, never demanding, just there, a lingering glance from across the hall, a knowing smirk when she passed him in the break room. A casual conversation that made her heart beat too fast. And damn him, he was charming. She had expected arrogance, entitlement, but instead he was thoughtful, surprisingly kind. It was dangerous, because she could feel herself slipping. Then, one night, everything cracked. The ER had been a battlefield. A 6-year-old girl had come in after a terrible accident, her tiny body broken beyond repair. Anna had done everything to save her, and she had failed. Long after the family had left, after the doctors had moved on, Anna sat in the empty hospital room, shaking. Her hands trembled as she clutched the discarded medical gloves in her lap, her breath shallow. She had seen death before, but it never got easier. A soft knock at the door. She didn't look up. Then, a presence too familiar. Daniel. She should have told him to leave, but when he crouched beside her, when his warm, steady fingers gently brushed away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen, she broke. A sob escaped before she could stop it. Daniel said nothing. He just pulled her into his arms, and for the first time in years, Anna let herself fall apart. Her fingers gripped his shirt, her body trembling against his warmth. He held her without hesitation, like he had been waiting for this moment. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said the words that shattered her completely. "You don't have to be strong alone anymore." And in that moment, she believed him. The night air was thick with silence as Anna walked toward her car, exhaustion pressing down on her shoulders. The underground parking lot was mostly empty, the dim fluorescent lights casting long shadows against the concrete walls. She clutched her bag tighter, her heartbeat steady but alert. Then, a sound. Footsteps. Anna froze. A chill crept down her spine as she turned her head, scanning the dimly lit lot. Nothing. But she knew better. She wasn't alone. She quickened her pace, her fingers trembling as she reached into her bag for her keys. Just a few more steps. A shadow moved. Before she could react, a rough hand clamped over her mouth. Anna screamed against the palm, muffling her voice, her body twisting violently. But the man behind her was stronger. "Stop struggling," a voice hissed against her ear. Panic surged through her veins as she fought harder, her heart slamming against her ribs. Then, a familiar voice. "Let go." The grip on Anna loosened just slightly as both she and her attacker turned toward the sound. Daniel Carter stood a few feet away, his face dark with fury. Anna's breath caught. His presence was commanding. Shoulders tense, fists clenched, eyes burning with pure rage. The man behind her stiffened, but didn't release her. Instead, he pulled something from his jacket, a knife. Daniel didn't flinch. Anna's pulse skyrocketed. "Daniel, don't." But it was too late. The attacker lunged. Everything happened too fast. A struggle, a sharp gasp, a flash of silver cutting through the air. Then, Daniel staggered back. Anna's heart stopped. For a single, paralyzing second, everything stood still. Then she saw it. The red blooming through his shirt. "Daniel!" Anna cried, rushing toward him as the attacker bolted into the shadows. Daniel swayed, his breathing uneven, his hand pressing against the wound in his side. "No, no, no!" Anna whispered, lowering him to the ground, her fingers shaking as she grabbed her phone. "Stay with me, okay? Just stay with me." Daniel smiled weakly. "I was kind of hoping you'd say that." Her vision blurred with tears. The call connected. "I need an ambulance," she shouted into the phone, her voice cracking. "He's been stabbed." She pressed down on his wound, but there was so much blood. "Damn it, Daniel," she choked out. "Why did you—" His hand covered hers. His grip was weak, but the warmth of it broke her. "You're worth saving," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. Anna's breath hitched, tears spilling down her cheeks. Then his eyes fluttered closed, and for the first time in her life, Anna was truly terrified. The hospital room was too quiet. Machines beeped rhythmically, a steady reassurance that the man lying in the bed was still alive. Anna sat beside him, her fingers wrapped around his hand, refusing to let go. She had been there since the second they wheeled him into surgery, since the longest, most excruciating hours of her life. Now, all she could do was wait. Her thumb brushed against his knuckles, her lips pressing into a thin line as she fought back tears. Then, a movement. Daniel's fingers twitched. Anna sucked in a sharp breath. Then, ever so slowly, his eyes opened. At first, he blinked groggily, his expression dazed. Then his gaze shifted, to her. A small, tired smirk pulled at his lips. "Hey, nurse." Anna let out a choked laugh, half sob, half relief. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice breaking. His smile faded slightly when he saw the tears streaking her face. His fingers curled weakly around hers. "Are you crying over me?" he teased softly. Anna let out a watery laugh, shaking her head. "You're an idiot." Daniel exhaled a slow breath, his grip on her tightening ever so slightly. "But I'm your idiot," he murmured. Anna's heart shattered, and for the first time she stopped fighting what she felt. Daniel Carter had faced countless high-stakes negotiations, multi-billion-dollar deals, and ruthless competitors, but nothing had ever terrified him as much as this moment. Sitting on the hospital bed, his side still sore from the wound that nearly took his life, he watched Anna. She stood near the window, arms wrapped around herself, staring at the city lights beyond the glass. The soft glow illuminated her face, but he could see the turmoil in her eyes. She hadn't left his side since the surgery. She had cried for him, and now he was about to risk everything. Anna knew he was watching her. She could feel the weight of his gaze, the intensity that made her pulse unsteady. She still hadn't processed what had happened, how close she had come to losing him, how her world had tilted when she saw him bleeding in her arms. She had spent years convincing herself she didn't need anyone, but when Daniel collapsed in that parking lot, when his hand had gone limp in hers, it had nearly destroyed her. She turned to face him, trying to steady her emotions. "You should be resting." Daniel smirked, that familiar cocky glint in his blue eyes. "And you should be sitting down, but here we are." Anna sighed, walking toward the bed. "You don't listen, do you?" "Not when it comes to you," he murmured. Her breath hitched, silence stretched between them, thick, unspoken, dangerous. Then Daniel reached for her hand. Slow, deliberate, and Anna let him. His fingers laced through hers, his warmth grounding her. "I almost lost you," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Daniel's jaw tightened. "I wasn't about to let anything happen to you." Anna shook her head. "That's not what I mean. She swallowed, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "I didn't realize how much you meant to me until that night, and that scares me." Daniel exhaled slowly. "Good," he said. Anna blinked. "What?" "Because I've been terrified for a while now." His voice was lower, softer. "Of losing you, of not being able to protect you, of never getting the chance to tell you the truth." Her heart pounded. "The truth?" Daniel tightened his grip. "That I love you, Anna." The words hit her like a storm. She stared at him, her pulse racing. "Daniel, I don't care about the differences between us," he continued before she could pull away. "I don't care about money or background or any of the things you think separate us." His thumb brushed against her knuckles. "I don't just want to protect you, Anna. I want to stand beside you. I want to be the one you lean on, the one who fights for you when you're too tired to fight for yourself." Anna broke. Tears burned behind her eyes as her breath shook. She had never had that, not once. No one had ever told her that she didn't have to do it alone, and then he kissed her, slow, tender, devastating. His lips were warm, patient, giving her time to run if she wanted to, but she didn't. She kissed him back, her hands gripping his shirt, her body melting into his, and for the first time in forever, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone anymore. The hospital's main lobby was never this crowded. Doctors, nurses, and patients all gathered, their whispers filling the air as they craned their necks toward the center of attention. Daniel Carter, standing tall in a crisp navy suit, holding a small velvet box in his hands. And in front of him, a stunned Anna Collins. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. "Daniel, what are you doing?" He grinned, completely unfazed by the 100 sets of eyes watching them. "Something I should have done a long time ago." Anna's hands trembled as he dropped to one knee. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Daniel looked up at her, his sharp blue eyes softer than she'd ever seen them. "We've been through hell together," he said, voice steady despite the weight of his words. "I've nearly lost you more times than I can count, and every single time, it's only made me more sure of one thing." He opened the box. Inside, a stunning diamond ring caught the light. Simple, elegant, just like her. "I love you, Anna," he continued, "and I don't just want to protect you. I want to be the man you wake up next to every morning. I want to be the man who makes sure you never carry the weight of the world alone again." Tears welled in Anna's eyes. Daniel's smile softened. "So, Miss Collins, will you marry me?" A hush fell over the room. For the first time in forever, Anna let herself believe. Believe that love wasn't about money or status. It was about this. About a man who had risked his life for her, fought for her, loved her even when she pushed him away. She let out a choked laugh, tears slipping down her cheeks. Then she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. Then, louder, stronger. "Yes, Daniel, I'll marry you." The lobby erupted into cheers as Daniel slipped the ring onto her finger, pulling her into a breathtaking kiss. And just like that, her life changed forever. The waves crashed gently against the shore, the salty breeze carrying the scent of the ocean as the sun dipped low on the horizon. Anna stood at the edge of the aisle, barefoot in the soft sand, her white dress flowing around her. She had never dreamed of a fairy tale wedding, but standing here, surrounded by the people she loved, waiting to marry the man who had become her safe place, her home, she realized this was better than any dream. Daniel stood beneath a flower-draped arch, looking at her like she was his entire world. As she walked toward him, her heart felt light, like she wasn't carrying the weight of the past anymore. When she reached him, he took her hands, squeezing gently. She smiled. "Nervous?" Daniel smirked. "Only about getting through my vows without crying." Anna laughed, shaking her head. "I'd pay to see that." The officiant began, but Anna barely heard the words. All she could focus on was Daniel, the man who had fought for her when she couldn't fight for herself, who had shown her that love wasn't about grand gestures or wealth. It was about sacrifice, trust, choosing someone, every single day. Daniel lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her fingers before whispering, "From now on, you don't have to worry alone anymore." Anna's throat tightened with emotion, because for the first time in her life, she believed it. And when Daniel leaned in, sealing their love with a kiss, she knew this was forever. Love isn't about wealth, power, or status. It's about sacrifice, trust, and choosing someone every single day. Anna had spent her whole life fighting alone. Daniel had spent his life building walls. But in the end, love broke through. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was real, messy, imperfect, but it was theirs. Because true love isn't about rescuing someone. It's about standing beside them through every storm, every fear, every battle. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories for more unforgettable tales of love, resilience, and second chances. Because sometimes, the person you least expect can change your life forever.